All right. Good afternoon, everyone. How's everyone doing today? Good. God, that's such a robot response. It's fine. How's everyone's Friday going so far?
Great. Good.
Okay.
Say something else.
Good.
Got us terrible. Terrible. Why terrible?
Because I want to go home now.
I understand, but guess what? We're close to 2:45. All right, be done in a minute before you know it. All right, so today we're going to talk about healthy behaviors, but before we go into the slides, who can tell me, what do you think about when you see healthy behaviors or hear the term healthy behaviors? Yes, Dave.
Eating vegetables.
Okay, eating vegetables. What else?
Having healthy habits.
Healthy habits, good. Giovanni, what did you say?
I don't know. Be in shape.
Being in shape, exercise, yes, Hayden.
Staying hydrated.
Staying hydrated. What else? Any other things that you think of when you see healthy behaviors? Staying fit, yes. Sleeping, yes. Anyone else? Those are some really good answers, guys, and those are really on point for where we're going today and what we're going to be talking about, all right? So I'm glad that you guys have a great sense about it so far on what healthy behaviors are. We'll take a deeper dive into it. All right, so this first slide right here is just talking about our standards, what we're going over. So this standards is HEHS .7. Students will demonstrate the ability to practice health-enhancing behaviors and avoid or reduce health, all right? So when you think about healthy behaviors, don't just think about the things that go into making yourself healthy or keeping yourself healthy, but there are also some factors that go in that can, if you don't do right, you'll end up having those risks. And we'll get into what those risks are. All right? You guys will model behaviors to avoid or reduce health risks to self and others. That's what I'm talking about. We'll go through a couple of different scenarios. Is everything all right, Trey? All right. We'll go through a couple of different scenarios, all right, that talks us through, and we'll talk through it as a class that'll help us with those different scenarios, how to avoid those risks, and making sure that we are on track for what we need to do. All right? Your essential question for today. What ways can you avoid risks that affect my health? All right? Think about that as we go through the lesson. What ways can you avoid risks that affect my health? All right? The objective for you guys today, your learning target, all right? The student will be able to model behaviors 3 out of 4 times to avoid / reduce health risks, all right? So you should be able to do that 3 out of 4 times. Or 75% of the time, you should be able to avoid or reduce health risks. All right. Then our I can statement. All right. Your I can statement is I can use different strategies to avoid and reduce health risks. So this is what we're going to be talking about today and going for. Any questions so far before we get started?
No, sir.
None. All right. Good. All right. So they got a few vocabulary words for you. Like I already talked about, we got avoid, risk, health enhancing, and healthy behaviors, all right? We already talked about healthy behaviors. It was on the first slide. You guys have a great understanding about that. Health enhancing, what that means is how can I prolong or boost my health? And I remember we talked about it a while back at the beginning of school. Health isn't just physical, but it can be also what? Mental. Good. Health can also be mental. So we got to make sure that we're enhancing or doing things that are prompting us in the right direction and not going the opposite direction, which is negative. All right. We got risk. We all know what a risk is. You take risk every single day. All right. There's a good reward for some risk, and there's a bad reward for some risk. Some risks are negative. Some risks are positive. All right. And then, like I said, we talked about avoiding those risks and how can we reduce those risks as far as our health. All right. I got a quick YouTube video I want you guys to look at. Pay attention, and we'll discuss it and go from there. Make sure the volume's up. Make sure our volume's
good. Teens and risk-taking. What did you think of when I said that?
Most people think...
Teens and risk-taking. What did you think of when I said that?
Most people think of house parties and binge drinking, smoking weed under the bleachers, unsafe sex, or fighting and violence.
In other words, a bunch of bad things. But really, growing up is nothing but a series of risks that we take. From our first steps and our first words to learning to ride a bike or asking someone out on a date. Each time we try something new, we're taking a risk. And we need support to navigate these risks well.
For parents, teachers, counselors, and the other adults who work with young people, every day presents a new opportunity for us to support healthy risk-taking.
That means being there to answer questions without stigma or shame, supporting us when we try on new values or identities, letting us make mistakes so we can learn from them, celebrating when we succeed. Most of all, adults who are the best at encouraging healthy risk-taking and growth, they listen.
And listening is key, because young people know their day-to-day worlds better than anyone else. Trusting them to make their own choices is critical for building their confidence and life skills. Without taking risks, teens have trouble developing into capable adults. It's everyone's job to make sure that they're supported and safe so they can grow up to be healthy, not just physically, but emotionally, socially, and more.
Given that society thinks of risk-taking so negatively, it makes sense that adults want to limit or even get rid of risks altogether, but that's not what we need. Yes, there are unhealthy risks that all of us need to avoid. Drug and alcohol use, unsafe sex, and violence. But healthy risks, good risks, the kind that challenge us to expand our horizons, those are so important for our learning, for growth.
Learn more about promoting positive adolescent health behaviors and outcomes from the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine at nationalacademies.org/adolescent health report.
I didn't understand that at all. Stop.
Teens and risk-taking. What did you think of? When I said that?
Go through it.
No problem. We'll talk about that. So, from that video, what was one of the biggest takeaways that you guys saw during that video?
Not all risks are bad risks.
Not all risks are bad risks. Why not, Bailey?
Because some risks can further your education or your better understanding of life.
Okay, good. What else? Natalie, what did you get from that video? What's one thing that they talked about? What was one of the negative risks that was associated with the video? Drinking, smoking, what else?
Unprotected sex.
Unprotected sex, that's correct. Things that you guys should be avoiding, right?
Right.
All right, how often do you hear your parents, all right, tell you, not to do certain things, or you shouldn't be doing this, or you shouldn't be doing that? How often do you hear that?
Every day.
When I
Every
go
day,
home,
right? I mean, how often is it do you hear them promoting the healthy risks, like, hey, apply to college, or, go after your dreams, or things like that?
Barely.
Fairly, right? So we have to, as adults and as teachers, and especially my job as your health teacher, I have to get you guys to understand that there are healthy risks as that have way positive outcomes or more positive outcomes than the negative risks. All right. So I just want you to think about that. And that's good that we got that from that video. All right. The next slide right here. This is just behaviors to help avoid some of the health risks. And they talked about it on in the video. So one of them is socializing with friends. How often or how many of you guys, when you come in here into the building, the first people you try and find are your friends? All of you, right? Because it's easier for you to talk to your friends. It's easier for you to, be around them. And without you guys knowing, that's an easy way to boost up your mood whenever you come into the building. Because how many of us feel as though that when we come to school, it's a drag? You can be honest. You don't feel like coming, right? Sometimes, right? But then when we see our friends, what happens?
You're good and like.
Your mood in life, your mood changes, all right? So that's one way that can help you avoid health risks so that you don't draw into that depressional state, all right? Another one, make for family time. Family time is important. Spending much time with your family as you can. I know for me, that's one of the biggest things. Whenever I feel myself going into a little hole or feeling like I'm, not myself, it's either one, I need to take a break mentally from whatever I'm doing, or two, I just need to see my family. That's something that's big for me, and it might not be as big for you, but that's one way that you can help, avoid some of those risks as well. We talked about it, encouraging daily exercise. You guys, the other side of the other part of this classroom is what? The personal fitness piece, right? 2 days a week we try and go outside because we want to encourage daily exercise. And when you don't have that, you guys should be doing that on your own. Being healthy is physical, all right? Well, physical and mental, but both play a big part. I like to look at them as 50-50, all right? So you guys need to make sure you're doing that. We talked about it earlier. Was that Q Hayden that said nutrition and hydration?
Yeah.
Yep, and that's good. You gotta hydrate. How many of you guys drink a lot of sodas every day?
Not me.
Not sodas, but juice, tea, sweet tea. All right, gotta avoid those. We gotta get on the water. All right, and then making sound decisions. Every day that you walk into the building or every day of your life, you have to make a decision and understand that with those decisions, there's good and bad consequences. All right, so you have to be able to make sound decisions. So that prompts you to have, avoid those health risks and then overall good vibes only. All right, moving on. So these are some of the behaviors, and it was expressed in the video, some of the negative behaviors that will cause health risks, which the first one is physical. All right, driving under the influence of alcohol or engaging in sexual intercourse without protection. Both two of those things right there, you guys shouldn't be participating in from the jump. Driving under the influence, you guys aren't old enough to drink, and then having unprotected intercourse, we all know the risks that come with that. STDs, STIs, pregnancy, and then the other risks with driving under the influence of drinking at an early age, causing for your organs to fail, setting yourself behind the 8 ball on your own growth and maturity, and slowing down the development of your brain. So we got to make sure that we avoid those risks. All right. The other one, emotional. All right. How many of you guys are in tune with your emotions, or you feel like you're very emotional when certain things happen to you? Raise hands.
It depends
No?
on what it is.
Depends on what it is. Okay. Now, could you give me an example?
It's like your grandma dies, obviously you're going to be emotional.
Correct. That is true. That is an emotional tie, and it can lead to depression or, suffering from now anxiety or, those things of those nature. Can school cause emotional, damages to your health? Stress. All right. What else?
This is not true.
Your parents.
Your parents. All right. Good. Lying. How many did you know that lying can cause not emotional, but health risks to you?
How?
Because first you tell one lie, you gotta tell another lie to cover up that lie.
Exactly. Lying is just an endless cycle. Like Bailey said, once I tell that first lie, I gotta tell another lie to make up the second lie, and I gotta tell another lie to make up the third lie. Now I've done put myself in this string of lies, and now I'm sitting up here stressing about it. Well, how do I remember the first lie that I told to make up for the 15th lie that I told down the road? That makes sense now? Okay. And then you got social. All right, provoking a physical fight, bullying or cyberbullying. We try to, refrain from that. Bullying is not the way. Cyberbullying is not the way, and being in fights is not the way. All right. Since I've been here with you guys, I haven't seen any of that. This school does a great job of not having a whole bunch of those problems, and that's a credit to you guys getting along with everyone. So that's one way that you guys are avoiding that, and that's a really good job. And then intellectual, cheating on tests ties back into that stress piece. Now that I'm cheating, I gotta come up with different ways to figure out I gotta cheat. How do I not get caught cheating? We all know the consequences if we get caught cheating. You're gonna fail the test. Now you gotta go talk to admin. Now you got all these other things involved, and now I'm putting anxiety, stress, just all a bunch of bad stuff that you don't need. And then spiritual. engaging in behaviors that go against one's ethical code, all right, or your morals. Everyone has their own set of morals and their own set of beliefs, but it's up to you to make sure that you.
Coach Banks,
Yes, ma'am.
can I see Gabrielle Boone, counselor's office?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
don't get spiritual help. I don't get
Spiritual, I don't want to go too deep into it. It's more or less how you feel with where you are spirituality wise. Like if you believe in God or that side of it, and whatever your belief system is, how your ethical code, or morals line up. Because everyone has it or has their own ethical code or morals or about themselves, but if they don't line up, then it can cause for you to feel, not the best possible. That makes sense now? Okay? Now we talked about that. Now let's go into our first scenario. We're going to talk about this as a class. Okay? So it says, Jasmine and Michael are both in the 10th grade. They are invited to a party by upper class. They accept the invitation and decide to go. Once they arrive and see other teens drinking alcohol, Jasmine tells Michael they should leave. What should they do?
Leave.
They should leave. Why?
Because they don't feel comfortable.
They don't feel comfortable. That's one reason. Bailey.
But what if they don't feel uncomfortable and they don't want to drink and they know they're not going to drink? Do they have to leave?
They don't have to leave, but what is one of the consequences?
And
What
it's
if-
not like a good environment to be around or like be in.
Good, that's good.
That's a
But
lot.
what is one of the consequences if that party were to get busted? Yes,
They're all
Dawson.
gonna get in trouble.
They're all going to get in trouble because they're underage drinking. So no, they shouldn't stay. Genesis, is your hand
They
raised?
could get peer pressure into drinking alcohol.
Yep, that's also right. You get peer pressure. This goes back to avoiding those unhealthy behaviors that can affect your health. All right, so this is one that's a really good job right there on the first scenario. All right, the second scenario, it says Drew has an upcoming test in math class. Drew has not studied all week for the test. Drew is stuck between cheating on his test or taking the grade he deserves. What should Drew do?
Take the grade he deserves. It's his own fault.
Cheating.
Kareem, why do you say cheat?
I don't know.
It seems like the better option.
Yeah,
Cheating
for
seems
you
like a
can,
better option.
for you can get a better grade.
But then again,
No,
you didn't
because
study it by
you should
yourself.
take the grade you deserve because like if you don't, then that's kind of one you're lying because
Okay.
you're obviously.
That ties back to the health, one of our health behaviors. All right, what's another part?
You get a good
And like
grade.
it's not good. Like
It's not good.
Or you get caught cheating.
he's taking the risk of getting caught.
Is that a negative risk or a positive risk?
Negative. You could get in trouble. Like
Getting good. Good. I'm glad y'all are thinking it through. Now, for some of y'all, named Kareem, you said that they should cheat, but the negative risk outweigh the positive risk. Yes, if you cheat in that moment, you may get the grade, but ultimately, did you learn anything? No.
and like about like end of course
You can get your
test.
GPA up. On top of your
End of course test. How are you gonna know like what you were learning about?
Exactly. It all comes back down the line, so you have to make sure that
There's
you do.
consequences to your
Look, I
actions.
cheated on the test, and I didn't know anything about that. But then the next unit, I didn't cheat, and I knew everything. Would you look at that?
Why are you admitting to that?
Why are you
It could be a catch-22, but the negative effects, like I said, ultimately will catch up with you at the end of the day. So therefore, cheating is not the way to go. If you are cheating, let's refrain from doing it at this point forward, all right? But that's a good job of answering that scenario, all right? And we'll move on to scenario 3. I want you guys to read this one yourself, and then we'll answer it together. We'll read it yourself, and we'll answer it together. All right, so take a few moments to read it, and then we'll answer it. All right. Scenario 3. Scenario 3 says, Cameron has been splitting time between family and college. She has a free weekend coming up during the semester. Her professor just announced that they will have a big project due the Monday after her free weekend. She stated that she feels mentally drained and that seeing her family could boost her spirits back up. What should Cameron do?
Go to your family.
This
Do
is
her
it.
project.
Okay. All right. Hold on. Wait. We'll go around the room. All right, because I got different answers. Emerson, what was your answer?
She should go see her family because obviously if school's draining her, then she should go like take a break from it because she can come back and do her project.
Okay.
That's not
All
hard.
right. Landon.
She should go see her family because family is more important.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
Would her professor let her redo this at some point?
Now, when you get to college, those deadlines are hard deadlines, so the professor may not let her make it up or go over the deadline that is presented. Yes, Natalie.
I think she should go see her family because whenever, obviously it makes you happy and when you live in islands and you're gonna have more, you're gonna want to spend more time.
Okay. Yes, Trey.
I think she should tough it out so she can get rid of that.
And that's one way of going about it. So I've got a handful of you guys saying that she should go home and see her family. Trey said that she should tough it out and do a project. Bailey, what do you got?
Honestly, it depends on if she has her project done or not.
Okay. And I can agree with that to a certain extent. Yes.
Do her project and tell her family to come over.
And that's also another alternative. So all of those are different, are really good, and I put this scenario on there because I felt like, and it did what I thought it was going to do, was split majority of you guys. Because in this situation, there really isn't a right or a wrong or a positive or a negative, effect. Either way it goes, either she's going to do the homework and then still feel the same way she felt before, or she's going to go home and then her spirits be lifted. But she also has to understand in the back of her mind, I still have something to do, or there's still going to be something to do, and that's just how life is. And you'll see the older you get, once you realize it, you'll understand that even though if I take time to do this, that's over there still going to come back, and I still got to give it my attention. Yes?
What would you do?
What would I do?
Yeah. Like, since you're kind of...
Okay. What I would do, I would probably go home. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'd go home. But as I'm at home, and I take my stuff with me, and I just do my work while I'm with my family.
But what if that wasn't an option? What if the assignment was like something you had to do in person?
I might just have to tough it out and then wait for my next free weekend if that's the case.
It's hot in here.
I know. But moving on. But those are some really good answers to that scenario, guys. Good job. All right, scenario 4. Malcolm has gained weight in recent months due to his poor eating habits. He says that he wants to lose weight and join the gym. His habits have not changed, and he is not pleased with his body. In what ways can Malcolm change his situation on his health? Before anyone answers, think about it. Think logically about your answers before we just blurt it out. All right, so take the next 2 minutes, 3 minutes to think about your answer. All right, and then we'll discuss it. When you're ready, someone raise their hand, and we'll get going. Yes, Dulce.
Was this due just because of his eating habits, or is this mental health?
I think it can be a situation of both, but I think it's just because of his eating habits right here. All right. Yes, Kareem.
It's probably his eating habits because I used to go to the gym and I never lost weight.
Okay. So is that what? So what would be the? How can he change the situation?
Work out more and eat less.
All right.
Eat healthy, drink not less.
Drink more water. Yes, Trey.
If you get, mentally right, so where he's keep pushing forward, even though if you won't see it now, he'll see it later on down the road.
Good.
Balancing his diet.
Balancing his diet. Yes, Bailey.
You can get a friend to join them.
A friend to join. That's always a good option. All right. So those are some really good answers for those scenarios. All right. So I think you guys did a really good job right there answering those scenarios. So now what you're gonna do is you're gonna practice on your own. All right. So you should have your Chromebooks out, What you're gonna do, you're gonna click the link, all right, follow that link, and then complete that worksheet, and then I'll give you about five minutes to do it. It's only about 5 questions, all right, 5 minutes to do it, and then we'll come back and we'll I'll tell you guys what we're gonna be doing next, all right?
It's under Google Classroom.
Yes.
Coach Bates, I'm having technical issues.
Okay. What we'll do is I printed out copies just in case that situation came up. There you go. You're welcome.
Excuse me, where's it at?
It's in the classroom. What? The links.
Okay, I found it. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm good over here.
Yes, sir, we're good.
I ran it.
I don't know if to put on
Oh, shoot, but I'll put mine on.
Alright, you get about 2 more minutes on it.
Here you go, Coach Bates.
Thank you, brother. Action. Yeah, thank you. Alright, about 1 more minute. Sorry. Alright, guys, got that done. I should have that graded and return back to you by Tuesday. Alright, so I'll work on that over the weekend. So let's go and take a look. Let's take a look at what we're going to be doing next week. Alright, with the closing. So remember our essential question. Alright, what ways can you avoid risks that may affect my health? Anyone like to answer that question? Someone that hasn't answered today?
Oh, I can't do it.
Sebastian, what ways can you avoid risks that may affect your health? Good, eating junk food, so eating healthy. All right. Yes, Genesis.
Avoiding those situations.
Good, avoiding those situations. Sam, how can you avoid those risks?
No smoking.
No smoking. That's perfect. All right.
No drinking.
No drinking. Good. All right. Objective. All right. The students will be able to model behaviors 3 out of 4 times to avoid or reduce those health risks or those scenarios. You guys did a really good job on that. I think you guys went 4 for 4 instead of 3 for 4, so that was a good job. So give your hand, give each other hands up right here. Alright. The I can statement, alright, was I can use different strategies to avoid/reduce health risks. Do we feel like we can do that as a group?
Yes.
Good, alright.
Can you list some examples?
The examples were in the scenarios that you did today. Those are your examples, Natalie. Alright. And for the next class, alright, and this is forecasting what we'll be doing next week when we get back, alright, is that we will be talking about healthy relationships. When you guys hear relationships, the first thing that you think about is probably, you know, my boyfriend, my girlfriend, my partner, you know, things of that nature. But relationships go further than that and deeper than that. It talks more about your parents. You know, the relationship you have with me, your teacher, the bus driver, the principal, your coaches if you're in a sport. Those type of relationships and how you can communicate effectively, and that'll overall make you into a better person and better human being. So any questions from today or from today's lesson?
No, sir.
No, sir? Alright. If you haven't finished up, if you haven't finished up that assignment, you got time still to go back and do that. We'll work quietly till the bell rings. We got about 10 minutes. Alright, so you can work on that. And that's all I got for you guys.
Thank
Thank you.
you.